Now that I got your attention, let's talk about that. Alrighty, so let's talk about this. This is my 1964 Cadillac Sedan DeVille with a 12 valve, a supercharger, and a turbocharger, otherwise known as a twin charged diesel. There's not many of them out there. I'm not the first. I will never claim fame to that. There are other ones out there, but I am definitely not the first. But as the Army would say, there are many like it, but this one is mine. And that is true. This is my baby, my love child of long nights, garage beers, blood, sweat, and tears, and whatever else that Fort Minor song said. Anyhow, this is mine. I love this car with all my heart, and it is probably my favorite thing I've ever built. What exactly is it? Why did I build it? And yeah, that's what we're going to kind of discuss today. I want to do a little bit more of an overview that's a little longer format, because people ask a lot of questions, and I can only give so much info when I can and how I can. So, first off, let's give a little bit of background history. All right, so you'll have to excuse me. I'm sweating profusely. It is a lovely, very humid day here today. Actually, it's very humid afternoon. Night. It's like 6:37 and it's still ridiculous. This is my 64 Cadillac. A lot of you guys have seen it. A lot of you guys love it. Everybody loves the supercharger. Everybody loves the turbos. Everybody loves the Cummins. But I love this car long before that. I bought this car in... Actually, I could tell you. Hold on here. Yeah, right here. Right here. I bought this car in 06 of 2020, because that was, and in South Dakota, Main Street City Motors, Rapid City, South Dakota is where I bought this car. And yes, I bought it because I had a flame paint job. Sue me. It's not great. It's peeling, and it's seen some age, but it, just like Kim Kardashian's ass, iconic. Everybody loves it. I've never met anybody that's told me, wow, that flame paint job is stupid. It's not stupid, especially because it's on a Cadillac. All right, back to where I was at. God, man, I am just sweating up a storm. I bought this car because I liked it. I've loved Cadillacs ever since I was a little kid. One of the first cars I almost bought in high school was, I believe it was a 71, maybe 70, 71, 69. Not a thin car like this, but regardless, old school Cadillac. Something about them, I just love them. Can't get enough of them. That being said, I bought this car because the price was right, and it actually is in really good shape. There's not a lot of rust to it. There's not a lot of body work that needs to be done. There's a couple small things. We can go look at those. There's a couple small things. This back tail lamp needs to be replaced. That tail fin over there needs a little bit of love. But otherwise, this car is incredibly solid. There's no Bondo. The whole trunk floor is great, despite all the stuff back here. When we moved, I used this as my own personal 6-foot body bag dumping whatever junk I could throw in here. It got thrown in here. Same with inside the cab. Anything I could get in here, I got in here. But it's just, I mean, you can look. These rockers, anybody from the Midwest or will understand how important that actually is. The only spots of rust on this car is this front bumper cap. That one and that other one's got a little bit too. So if you have one of these, please hit me up. I need it. Anyhow, the rest of this car is awesome. Now, I drove this car pretty much daily for almost a year. Not quite almost a year, but pretty close. I didn't make it into the wintertime, but I did drive it. I drove it a lot, especially around town where we lived in North Dakota. I loved it. Had a 429 big block Cadillac which, by the way, if you weren't familiar, Cadillac back in the day made some power. They made that 429 made 300 and it was like 340 horse and like 500 off foot-pounds torque. Didn't really matter. These were not about big power, but they were smooth. By smooth, I mean you put your foot down on the floor at 30 miles an hour, the same acceleration you got from 30 to 60 was the same you got from 60 to 90. It just went. And it did it all to the tune of about 5 miles to the gallon. Now, let's talk about all of this mess that I have going on here and what everybody loves. So, the 429, great engine, ran great. All of a sudden one day I come out, puddle of coolant under the front. I think to myself, oh, well, I've got a water pump going, right? Hell, engine's, just as old as the car. Probably the issue. I didn't. The block was cracked. Apparently that's not necessarily uncommon, but not common either. It does happen. The block had cracked, and wasn't much I could do with it. I ended up pulling the engine out. I was going to just LS swap this thing, because there's a lot of people that do that. They make great running caddies on LSs and new small block Chevys and whatever. Dump them right in there. You could go down the road. And if I'm being honest, that probably would have been the way smarter choice. But by God, that's nearly half as cool as this thing. So, where'd the Cummins come into play? I'm a big Cummins guy. Always have been. I've owned more 12 valve and 24 valve and common rail trucks than most people I know. I love them. I breathe them. They're my bread and butter. I will always be a diehard Cummins guy. Greatest motor in the world. Suck my nuts otherwise. Anyhow, I digress. Cummins, if you're familiar, are not exactly cheap motors. You can spend $3,000 on a good running core. And then you could buy the truck for $3,000 and get everything else with it. That being said, a buddy of mine out of Kalispell called me. And by the way, we lived all the way on the front side of North Dakota. Called me and said, hey, Mac, there's a Cummins up here for sale for $800. I hung up the phone, hopped in my truck, and started driving. Because I said, fuck, you gotta get me that thing. Didn't even ask what condition it was in. I should have. Didn't even ask what condition it was in. Mine. I drove nonstop for 9.5 hours across the great state of Montana. Ended up in the Kalispell region. And talked to the guy. And luckily enough, he was nice. When I actually called him, I was 40 miles into the journey, somewhere around Glendive, Montana. And I said, I am so serious that I am like 50 miles in on this. And he said, all right, you got till the end of the night. I showed up at 7:35 at his doorstep with $800 cash, brought home the motor, and went to the arduous task of figuring out how to shove a motor that is a almost foot longer, almost 300 pounds heavier, and almost 9 inches taller back in the same spot, which luckily Cadillac engineers, they knew me. They knew me way ahead of time. They were like, wow, by God, we got to give this guy a 22-foot long car with 6 feet of engine bay and all this space, because he's going to put a badass Cummins in it one day. And they were right. They knew me. God bless them. Shout out to whoever engineered this thing. It's got more space than you could ever want. A big block Cadillac in this thing almost looks like a Honda motor in a dumpster. It's ridiculous how much space there is. I mean, it really is. This motor fits actually pretty well. That don't. So we'll get into kind of what all this is. This, again, is another product of Drunken Garage Beers and the deep train that is thought. This is what everybody loves. This is the first thing people see and the first thing that people go, what the fuck is that? Well, this, my dear friends and constituents, is a M122 Eaton Series 2-liter blower off of a S-Series John Deere combine. I know you're going to say, what? What do you mean, S-Series combine? Yes, John Deere's late model S-Series combines use one of these. Now, they use one of these to blow, all this is a positive displacement air pump, to blow light pressurized air around the SCR and the Tier 4 and all the exhaust stuff. Super smart idea if you've ever been around a combine. They do two things really well. They pull stuff out of the ground, make food, and dirt. Lots of the third thing, dirt. And also, if you know about dust at all, I'm going to inform you, dust can be flammable, combustible, big boomy dirt. This helps with that. It does a good job, actually, a really good job. This mitigates a lot of combine fires. Now, why do I have this one? Long story short, I worked for a John Deere dealer up in North Dakota, and we had one come across as a warranty deal. I guess. So all this is a M122 blower pack from Eaton. This is a specialty housing. It's also a reverse blower pack. I should state that for technicals. This has to drive, because this drove off the rear of the engine, this has to drive the opposite of the front crank, which is, we'll get into some of that in a little second. But now, cool news is, you're going to have a hard time finding one of these. I would love to tell you they're available. You can go buy one of these to the tune of, I believe, $7,600 and something odd dollars from John Deere if you really want one. Wouldn't recommend it. M122 is not worth that much money. Now, for my raccoon garbage gremlin dumpster ass, this was free. The only thing I had to do was put a $33 drive coupler in here, because what happened, this got in a combine fire and had sucked up a little bit of hot air. And that hot air had gotten in here and melted that coupler out and basically melted it into dust, and it went through this. Didn't really cause any damage to the rotor pack, but melted the coupler enough that it was making a funky noise when you would spin it. So we had to get rid of that, and unfortunately John Deere won't just sell you the coupler. This is a hint for any farmers out there. If this guy makes noise, eat an M122 coupler. Online, eBay, $30. Get you one there. They also come, you can change out, there's oil in the back of these you have to change for the drive gears. John Deere's never going to do it. You should probably do it. I would say at least once every 1,000 hours. Cough, cough, wink, wink. Anyhow, now back to what I mean by a reverse drive blower. So this drove off the back of the engine on the combine, right? If your front is rotating counterclockwise, your rear is rotating clockwise. This guy has to rotate reverse of whatever the crankshaft is. So that's why this has a bunch of belts and other things, which are going to be kind of hard to see because I don't have any really good light. But needless to say, I got rid of the fan pulley, doubled it up, and created this monstrosity that now turns this the right way to make pressure. Now, is that real copper? Yes, very much it's real copper. It's all real copper. This would make anybody at a Jelly Roll concert cream their pants, and all your crackhead dreams come true. It started because I had this right here. This is a bus bar out of a transfer switch that I bent and kind of curved a little bit. I could do a better job. Sorry about that. The SD card filled up. I had to, or actually the internal storage on the old camera there had to fill up. So I had this bus bar, really cool. I like the color copper. And then I got the bright idea to go ahead and do the rest of this intake piping in copper. Wow, was that a mistake. That is expensive stuff. That was like 90 bucks. That was like 60 bucks. That was like $175. The rest of the 3-inch pipe was like another 170 something dollars. Needless to say, 3-inch copper is expensive. I understand what crackheads are on. I get it, man. I could make a living off of that stuff too. Ridiculous. This magical round thing that says US valve model, whatever. So, why do I have this? If you look at this setup, we have fresh air in here. Comes out here pressurized. Comes into here. I wish I had a Y, but man, 3-inch Y pipe or Y coppers are incredibly hard to find, by the way. Almost next to near impossible. I couldn't do it, so I had to go with this T. I'm not too worried about it. We'll explain that in a second. Comes into this T. Front of the turbo. Down. This is why I'm not worried. Intercooler's pretty blunt, right? So a T isn't going to be that big of a deal. We're also not making crazy horsepower in this thing. Across the intercooler, other side, up and into the engine. Hopefully that explains an airflow. Now, some of the constituents, or smarter ones among you, might go, well, wait a minute. What happened when the turbo want more air than the supercharger put out? Bango, bango, bango. Got you. I knew that. I thought about that ahead. That's what this guy is. This is a giant one-way valve. Look in here with me. These big flappers allow air to be sucked in that way, but not pressure out. This valve was like $300. Shout out to PD Blower. They were the company that helped me figure this out because, man, it was a tough challenge to find one. We did. They got me one. Worked really well. Shout out to the guy that helped me. I can't remember his name, but he was awesome. If you ever need weird stuff, they're the guys. Anyhow, this big valve right here ensures that there is never a vacuum in this tube. Always pressure. So, granted, this turbo right here, being the factory turbo, probably will never overrun this supercharger. This is 2 liters. This guy is pretty good size. He's pretty chunky. That being said, if I decide to go to a bigger turbo and I might need more flow, this ensures I can always have it. Now, what do I have to do here? I have to bring this out and down to a filter or something like that. Anyhow, let's move on. You've seen the airflow. You've seen my whole setup. at least most of it down here. What does this culminate to? So it culminates into this. This is something cool. Man, I am still real sweaty dealing with it though. Why did I do this? I'm going to tell you a story. When I drove this car, before any and all of this, I was sitting at the Flying J in Beach, North Dakota, and I was getting lunch, and I was sitting in this car, and I watched a little kid who couldn't have been more than 7 years old walk out with his dad, point to my car, and go, Dad, Hot Wheels car, like 3 or 4 times. And he goes, yeah, kid. He goes, yeah, son, Hot Wheels car. And ever since then, I aspire to make this the most Hot Wheels car I can. Because at the end of the day, I grew up loving Hot Wheels as a kid. I still have hundreds of them throughout my house as collectibles, and I will always have Hot Wheels. Always be one of my favorite things. Like, I still go to stores and hunt down Hot Wheels. I think they're neat. This is my Hot Wheels car. This is my Opus Magnum. This is the greatest Hot Wheels car I'll ever own because I can drive it, and it's something else, right? Nobody looks at this car and goes, wow, that's stupid. If they do, well, guess what? I don't really care. You're stupid. Anyhow, that's why I did this. That's why I did all of this. That's why I did the supercharger. That's why I did any of this. I mean, the garage beers definitely helped. They smoothed the flow of the thinking there. But all this was because one little kid at a gas station, who I may never meet again, will never see this, will never hear this, will never know any of this, told his dad that I had a Hot Wheels car, probably because of the flame paint job, which makes sense. But because of that, I aspire to build the coolest Hot Wheels car so that every kid at every car show I ever go to in the future does the same damn thing. Because I want to inspire the kids. I want to inspire them, right? I want to be the cool guy at the car show that somebody goes, hey, and can look back and remember that car and go, wow, that was really cool, or whatever. That's all I care about. I care about passing this hobby down to other people because it's my favorite thing in the world. So depending on how you look at that, that's sappy and silly and whatever, but that's the true story. And that's why I built my 1964 twin-charged Cummins diesel Cadillac.